So I may be dating myself, but growing up, there was this kids' TV character called Lamb Chop. I forget what show it was, but she would sing a song called "This is a song that doesn't end. Yes, it goes on and on, my friend." And it's really catchy, kind of an earworm. It's almost like 1877 Cars for Kids. Sorry, I apologize. But long story longer, the song that never ends is very similar to the Dalvin Cook trade speculation. So now Vikings in the final week of OTAs, a mandatory minicamp coming up. They obviously post June 1st. Is something going to happen? Is Dalvin Cook going to be traded back home to the Dolphins? Don't really know, but there is a new wrinkle and a new chapter inserted here by Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated. This is what he wrote, quote, the Dolphins earlier dalliance with Dalvin Cook, and maybe a renewed one, eyebrows, is a window into the next phase of his career. Minnesota and Miami came very close to a trade that would have made Cook a Dolphin back in March, and what's interesting about the deal that fell apart then is how the vision the team trading for him dovetails with how the team trading him away sees him. The idea for Miami was to add another big play threat to an arsenal that already has two of the game's most explosive receivers in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in the holster, and after that one came undone, and as Minnesota contemplated a price, it'd be comfortable bringing Cook back, which would be less than the $11 million he's due. The Vikings discussed using him more sparingly as an explosive complement to Alexander Mattison. It's weird to see him as complement to Madison, even though I have full confidence as Madison as an RB1. Minnesota also drafted Dwayne McBride in the 7th round. The Vikings like him as another depth piece alongside Ty Chandler and King Kenny and Wangu to give more flexibility to their decision-making on Cook. Would Miami still be interested? Maybe, though that desire for a big play back was, at least to some degree, addressed in the 3rd round of the draft with ultra-explosive Texas A&M running back Devin Achane coming in. Now, Dalvin and Achane are completely different running backs, but they did draft one in the 3rd round. And the Vikings, like we talked about, have done a very good job at hedging their bets, whether Dalvin is back or not. If he's gone, the Vikings are certainly comfortable at running back with Madison, Chandler, Kene, and Dwayne McBride. But if he's back, it would make sense that it would behoove him to take a lower rate, as his role would be greatly reduced. Dalvin getting the bulk of the work last year, even with Madison waiting in the wings. I think that it could be a spot where Dalvin maybe gets 50% of the work, and the rest is spread out amongst the other myriad of running backs that the Vikings have in the stable. And this does dovetail. This does jive with what was reported back in the day, a couple months ago, where Doogie saying that the Vikings received a trade offer for Cook, and Miami Herald beat writer Barry Jackson supported it, saying that the Dolphins made an inquiry on Dalvin. So all that jives, and then they decided to walk away. Vikings didn't get the price they're looking for. Dolphins want to obviously pay lower on a potential Dalvin deal. Maybe they wanted the Vikings to take on some of the salary. Or they couldn't agree on draft pick compensation, is what it is. But that was, of course, ahead of the 2023 draft, and the Dolphins, with their various trades and also forfeiting the 1st-round pick, probably weren't too keen on giving up immediate draft capital, but they still have 5 picks next year. They're missing the 3rd and 4th rounder due to various trades, but could it be a spot where the Vikings, get a 5th and a 6th, or they upgrade some later round picks, a la like the Za'Darius trade at this point? I don't know. And yes, even though the Dolphins did resign Mostert and Jeff Wilson, and they drafted Achane, Dalvin would be running back 1 in that room right now. Also, he's very adept at the outside zone, which Mike McDaniel runs a lot, coming from the Niners scheme. So it would make sense at this point. And the Vikings, they do seem set to be moving on. And whether it's strictly because you want to get rid of a player a year too early versus a year too late, also freeing up some of that cap space, the Vikings, if they did trade Dalvin right now, would free up around $11 million in cap space, and now they could use that this year. They could roll it over to help soften the blow of Jefferson and Darisaw and Hawkinson extensions, and maybe even a Daniil extension. It's possible there. So we'll see what happens. It's still up in the air. I still think something gets done. I don't think that the Vikings cut him, but it could be a spot where the Vikings bring him back at a severely reduced rate if Dalvin is open to that at this point, or he just gets traded, whether to Miami or joining his brother in Buffalo. We shall see. But your thoughts are thoughts. Report Vikings and Dolphins came very close to a Dalvin trade back in March before the draft. Let us know your thoughts on our thoughts and their thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Most support the work. Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.